President Trump says he wants to reopen Alcatraz, the notorious prison turned tourist destination in the middle of the San Francisco Bay. It once housed some of the most dangerous criminals in America, including President Trump's favorite gangster, Al Capone.
Did anybody ever hear of the great Alphonse Capone? Al Capone, great head of the mafia, right? If he had dinner with you and if he didn't like the way you smiled at him at dinner, he would kill you. You'd be dead by the time you walked out of the nice restaurant. Al Capone was so mean that if you went to dinner with him and he didn't like you, you'd be dead the next morning. The Alphonse Capone, the great Alphonse Capone, legendary Scarface, was attacked only a tiny fraction of what Trump was attacked.
The Rock, as it's sometimes called, shut down 60 years ago because of maintenance and cost concerns, but President Trump calls it a symbol of law and order and says he is ordering the Justice Department to open it back up. Quote, "When we were a more serious nation in times past, we did not hesitate to lock up the most dangerous criminals and keep them far away from anyone they could harm." He tied it to his immigration agenda, saying, "We will no longer be held hostage to criminals, thugs, and judges that are afraid to do their job and allow us to remove criminals who came into our country illegally." My smart reporters are back. Alphonse Capone, any excuse to run some of those sound bites? No. Listen, I also, as we start this discussion, do want to say that the Bureau of Prisons just released a statement saying that they are going to vigorously pursue all avenues to support and implement the president's agenda, and they're going to start assessing it. This is a prison that was closed because it was deemed too expensive to keep operating. That was back in 1963. It's nearly 3 times as expensive as other federal prisons, only holds around 300 prisoners. And by the way, what is now a National Historic Landmark has more than 1 million visitors each year. Casey?
Well, one of the things that we've learned about President Trump is that symbolism often trumps sense, right? He is very...
Sense, S-E-N-S-E, N-C-E-N-T-S.
Trumpism. Exactly.
There were so puns. There were so many puns in
sentence.
there.
But look, he likes how this looks. He likes the message that it sends. He thinks, it's clear he seems to think that it underscores his own political brand, that he's going to be tough. He's going to find the kind of person that should be in Alcatraz, regardless of how much it costs or whether it would be easier to do it somewhere else. I mean, we saw this with the building of the wall in his first term, right? I mean, how many members of Congress were willing to support the idea that there should be additional barriers on the border? But they all kind of universally agreed that his idea of the big, beautiful wall was actually the most expensive and least effective way to go about doing it. Didn't mean that's not what he wanted to do, though.
I mean, if they go down this route, he's going to expect probably a fight from Democrats. Nancy Pelosi called it not a serious proposal. Of course, she's a San Francisco Democrat. Gavin Newsom sort of laughed it off. It's going to be expensive. I mean, what happened to the time of Doge and trying to figure out ways to cut back? Now we're talking about getting Alcatraz back up and running, which would require a significant amount of maintenance, let alone just running the prison, just rebuilding the prison so it can actually house criminals.
Transportation to and from the prison.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
exactly.
a lot there.
They're talking about this. They're talking about military parades that cost tens of millions of dollars. So
yeah,
it kind of undercuts the whole idea of budget cutting.
So then one question is, one of the sort of hallmarks of Donald Trump and his media strategy is when there's something that's happening, maybe it's something that he said that he doesn't always want people to focus on, he does something else. Alcatraz, I mean, the Bureau of Prisons, they're looking at it. This could happen because it's the Trump years. But this is what he said to Kristen Welker yesterday about something really fundamental, the Constitution.
Don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they are going to obviously follow what the Supreme Court said.
I mean, look, and that is
much more serious than Alcatraz, right? Like I think Alcatraz is one of those things. It's a headline catcher. People will talk about it.
Right.
It probably won't happen, or if it'll happen, it'll take years.
Which is why we're talking about both.
And then we're talking, But the thing with the Constitution is the thing that people probably won't pay as much attention to, but it matters. I mean, he swore an oath to uphold the Constitution. I mean, what is your job as president of the United States if it's not to uphold the Constitution, whether you like every part of it or not? It's not only if it makes my policies expedient. It's regardless, you uphold the Constitution.
You know, it's so interesting. This is just the latest time. If you look at what he just said and what we played, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me. He still approaches the law as he did when he was a businessman, which is, I've got these great lawyers and they deal with it. But like, he's the president now.
Yeah.
And you said when you're a business person, you don't uphold the Constitution and take an oath. When you're president, you do.
Yeah, and he repeatedly said in that interview, sort of put it on Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, rather than taking it on himself, even though she's essentially implementing the policy that he has laid out here. But, I mean, I seem to recall on January 20th, that whole big event that happened when he raised his right hand and swore to defend the Constitution. It's a softball question. Will you uphold the Constitution? He could have easily said yes, but I disagree with this, or make his policy argument here. It was a pretty striking moment.
All right, developing this morning, yes on Alcatraz, yes on upending the film industry, maybe on the Constitution. Even for a president for whom distraction can be destiny, the last 12 hours have been a doozy. President Trump says he wants to reopen Alcatraz, which has been closed for 60 years, to make it a symbol of law, order, and justice. He says he wants to issue sweeping new tariffs on films made overseas because they are a national security threat. Many of the biggest blockbusters, including superhero movies, are shot overseas. As for the Constitution, when asked if he needs to uphold it, he responded, "I don't know." A reminder, the presidential oath of office is 35 words. 18 of them, more than half, are specifically about the Constitution, the whole preserve, protect, and defend part. Let's get right to CNN's Betsy Klein at the White House for the latest on this morning. Good morning, Betsy.
Good morning, John. Well, we have seen the president really reimagine and transform the use of executive authority in his first few months in office. And we're seeing that play out in a variety of ways, including this aggressive crackdown on illegal immigrants and criminals. The press by NBC on whether he needs to uphold the Constitution, President Trump said he does not know and left any questions about due process to the courts and to his lawyers. Of course, we should note that the Supreme Court has specifically ruled that due process rights in the Fifth Amendment extend to everyone, including undocumented immigrants. The president also announcing last night in a post to social media that he wants to reopen Alcatraz, that is that notorious prison off the coast of San Francisco. He said in a post to social media, quote, "Today I am directing the Bureau of Prisons together with the Department of Justice, FBI, and Homeland Security to reopen a substantially enlarged and rebuilt Alcatraz to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders." Now, Alcatraz was closed back in 1963 because, according to the Bureau of Prisons, it was too expensive to operate. And now it is a museum that generates $60 million a year, according to the National Park Service. But clearly a symbolic move here. Listen to the president.
It's a symbol of law and order, and it's got quite a history, frankly. So I think we're going to do that, and we're looking at it right now.
Group chat is back. I want to talk about that idea of the symbol, because I think the president cares a lot about symbols.
What it looks like. Yeah. I think that a lot of his presidency and how he really talks to his base is doing these, what I like to call, not necessarily just performative, but things that look as if he's in charge, and he says that he's in charge. Alcatraz, I think, for many people, is a place to go and visit and have some fun with your family.
It is a tourist attraction.
It's a tourist
at this
attraction.
point, yeah. And in fact, if you go to the website, I think, they say, like, it had to be closed because it was so expensive to maintain.
And to me, it doesn't make sense if we're trying to save money too. Why reopen such a thing that would cost more money, like billions of dollars, to keep it running? It makes no sense.
At a time when you're sending a scythe through the federal government to save money, opening it doesn't make sense. But I think you're right. It's a symbol. It makes Trump look tough. And it's probably one of those things which he says very deliberately for effect, and they probably are never going to end up happening. He probably doesn't think it's ever going to happen, but he gets the points for saying it in the moment.
Yeah, send.
Was that your typing?
I'm on Twitter.
This is a way to maintain brand, right? People trust Donald Trump to be tough on crime. This is a vernacular way to enunciate that. He's talking in the language that regular Americans would talk about, and he's not going to reopen Alcatraz, but he is going to be tough on crime, and that's what he's saying.